All right, well, cheers and welcome everyone to Happy Hour with the Lincoln. We are now on episode number 48, where week by week I'll do my best to answer all of your stock market related questions. As always, if you have questions you want to send my way, the email is support@thelincolnlist.com. Even if I don't feature them on any of these episodes, I'll at least get back to you and answer your questions right away. Also, don't forget that every time the market is open, we are trading live. Here is a link to our live trade room. Go ahead and follow it. It's also down in the description box. If you're trying to align yourself with a professional trading community that can get you to the next level as a trader, please check us out and visit the link. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this week on something that we were talking about last week, because the response to last week's happy hour was so overwhelming. You guys sent me all kinds of great literature and things for me to look at. I really appreciate every single one of them. So I want to build on that. We're going to get out the shovel, though, this week, and we're going to get deeper, peel back a few more of those layers. So not only can we become better traders, but we can become better people. So if you didn't watch last week's episode, or you vaguely remember, normally we use this as a platform to answer your questions, but I did a little talk about some psychological videos that had struck my interest online. And I shared them with you. And like I said, you guys sent me all kinds of stuff you were watching and books and stuff, which was amazing. Anyway, the topic of last week was about how the body and mind are different. So your body reacts to scenarios the same way, between fear, anxiety, and pleasure. So for example, if you're going to have a very fearful situation or anxiety, you'll get butterflies in your stomach, sweaty palms, you'll feel shaky. That's the same type of body symptoms that you have when you're in a pleasurable. You're going on a first date with somebody, or you're really excited about something. You're going to have those same types of symptoms. It's the brain that tells you whether it's a pleasurable experience or it's a painful experience. And the big takeaway from last week is that we can't control, in most cases, the things that happen to us as people. But what we can control is how we react to them. So because of that, we went through a few steps and all that good stuff. You guys sent me a bunch of things over there. But one that struck me the most was from a good friend in our trade room, Mark. We've been passing this book around from the whole entire week. It's called The Chimp Paradox. Now, I got to be honest with you, I have not read a book in well over a decade. But I promised him I was going to read it. I go 2 pages into this thing, and it's like a revelation. It's like the whole entire world opened. I'm like, I should be reading this stuff more. This is exactly what I was talking about. And when you have a revelation, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to share it with people. So therefore, I think this is incredibly important to you, not just as a trader, but as a person, because I've always been somebody that says, know thyself. And this book really kind of highlights that. So if you've read this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, you need to read this thing right away. I promise you, it'll have a big impact on your life immediately. I also should say I'm not the foremost authority on this. I'm only like 50 pages in, but I'm excited. I want to talk about it. So, forgive me if I get some of the things jumbled up here. I still got a couple 100 pages left. So let's talk about this and why this is important. What this book does, and the author, is they separate your brain into 3 different categories. And the reason they do this is important for you in a scenario, any kind of scenario, pleasure, pain, whatever it is. You need to know who's controlling that scenario within your brain, okay? So for example, the 3 categories are: you have a human brain, a chimp brain, and a computer brain, okay? So the human brain is responsible for your logical side, such as, I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to take care of my family. I need to be a responsible person. I need to donate to charity. I need to be an outstanding citizen in my community. I need to go to bed early. All of those rational things. The chimp part of your brain is sort of like the devil. It's like the savage part of your brain. Now, this comes from, according to the author, this if you believe in science and you think we evolved from cavemen, Cro-Magnons, Neanderthals, that this part of your brain is still there. We're still hardwired. It's your survival, your instincts, your fight or flight response. So the difference between these two is the logical part is telling you what to do in most cases is the right thing to do. But the chimp part of your brain is the one that controls that instant gratification, that satisfaction. So, your logical brain wants you to go to bed early. Your chimp brain wants you to stay up all night, okay? So you can tell the difference. Now, what happens with these two over the course of your life ends up into the computer storage part of your brain, and that dictates your beliefs in life, whether you think the world is round, flat, there's a heaven, there's a hell, all that kind of good stuff. We're not going to talk about that part. We're going to talk about the human brain versus the chimp brain, because every day that you get up, in essence, you are having a battle between these two. Okay. Now the author explains that you cannot kill off this part of your brain, this chimp part, this evil part of your brain, so to speak, for lack of a better term, because it is hardwired into our DNA. The only way that you'll ever get any sort of satisfaction, not satisfaction in life, but achieve great successes in life is by controlling this chimp part of your brain. So let's use an example of something that we're all familiar with. Let's say something like dieting. So the logical part of your brain tells you that you need to lose a few pounds. By losing a few pounds, you'll feel better about yourself, you'll be healthier, thus you'll live longer, you'll be around to take care of the ones that you love, and your life will be enhanced greatly from the whole process, okay? That makes sense. The chimp part of your brain is telling you they don't want to go through the pain of dieting. They want cake, they want cookies, that's what they want. That's what that part of your brain is. This is why when you go on a diet, if you've ever noticed, you can go like several hours throughout the day and not eat. But as soon as you put yourself on a diet, what happens? You start getting hungry. Now, a lot of times you're thinking that's because I'm thinking about dieting, but the truth is, it is that part of your brain, that chimp part of your brain, that's overriding the logic, telling you it wants sugar, it wants a piece of cake, it wants some candy, right? So at some point, the longer that you go on this diet and the stricter you are with that logical part of your brain, the harder that the chimp brain is going to keep fighting back. And you're not going to be able to beat it forever. This makes sense because this is why all the diets, you know, like Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, or some of those other popular diets, always tell you to have a cheat day. Because once you get strict for 2 to 3 weeks, what you have to do, like this author says, is feed the chimp. So once you get strict for like 2 to 3 weeks, then you have a cheat day. That cheat day is what feeds that chimp part of your brain, right? And helps you last another 3 or 4 weeks with strict behavior. So it completely makes sense, right? I think you follow what I'm saying. So when you ask yourself, is like, how does this translate into what we do for a living as traders? What does this translate to? And it's pretty simple, because if you think about it, take this scenario. Nobody wants to go the long way. And it doesn't have to be with trading. This has to do with life. You want to start a real estate business, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to do anything, start a retail shop, makes no difference. It's all going to end up the same. You logically know what you're supposed to do. So I'm going to use trading since that's what we do. So when you get into trading, you know it's probably not something that's going to be easy. Maybe you need some math skills. Maybe you need some kind of skills. You already know that. Logic tells you, I know nothing about stocks. I know nothing about trading. I know nothing about finance. I'm going to need to learn something. That learning is going to take me time. I'm going to have to put in hours of time. I'm going to have to struggle to make that time to do that studying. So whatever it is, I've got to make the time for it. Your chimp brain tells you, no, we don't need to wait that long. We can make a shortcut. So it starts to look for a shortcut or a way around the logical way. And you battle with that. So for example, when you're sitting there, you know logically that it's going to be a journey. This is going to take some time. I'm going to have to pay my dues. But then your chimp brain sees an ad with a Lamborghini and models in it. Like some dude on there holding up a bunch of $100 bills that says, I just took $500 and I turned it into $100 grand in 2 months. I just turned 1,000 into $2 million. Wall Street hates me. I'm a prodigy. Logically, you look at that and you say, that ain't right. That can't be right. Why would that be right? You know, there are no shortcuts in life. But then that chimp keeps coming out, right? And the chimp sees and goes, oh man, that sounds good. And if you end up buying into that, you basically gave in to your inner chimp. Your chimp won out in this situation, and you'll realize logically later, like, that didn't make sense in the first place. So I think you kind of understand what I'm talking about. It's this constant battle that goes on between the chimp brain and the logical brain. So you have to occasionally feed the chimp. But you can't just let it run wild, because if it runs wild, it's going to screw up your whole entire life. Now, this also works with the element of trading and being things like emotion. You know, again, logic tells you you're going to have to go through a learning curve when it comes to trading. Logic tells you there's going to be up and down days. Logic tells you that you will and you are going to lose money. But then you lose money and you start blaming yourself. You start getting upset. And then that chimp, that inner chimp keeps coming out, trying to tell you, hey, you know what? You're a loser. Hey, this ain't working. We got to find a better way. We got to do a shortcut. We got to do this. We got to do that. And then things start to go wrong. You start to lose your temper. You start to lose your self-control. And then things start to get out of hand. So when I'm looking back at this, the main point is understanding. So when I start to get angry, since I've read, it's been like 1 week. Since I start to think about something negatively, or I start thinking about something I don't want to do, or don't want to go through the process, the lengthy process of doing, or, you know, there's a trade I don't feel comfortable with, or I don't like, or I lost money and I'm a little bit upset. I think about that chimp. I'm like, this is my inner chimp trying to come out and ruin what I'm trying to do. It's trying to interfere with my logic. So this is what happens if we get too much chimp, right? I hope I'm making sense. We get too much chimp, it just overrides our logic. And in years of doing that, right, you just end up having more chimp and no logic, and you're just some out of control, non-structured, crazy person. And all this stuff makes complete sense, because when we think about what we do, one of the things that stood out with me is like that part about feeding the chimp is like that makes sense why we need, and we all have in most cases, hobbies that make us release. We call it unwinding and decompressing, whatever you want to call it, but that's what it's actually doing. It's feeding that part of the chimp. So when I look at things that I've done, like race motorcycles, I love to go hiking, I love to explore. It's like because I work all damn day. You know, I work Monday through Fridays, 100% work. I'm shooting videos, I'm trading, I got people in the trade room. You know, my life is busy from sun up to sundown. I'm constantly thinking about trading, I'm constantly thinking about making money. I'm constantly on the go. So my chimp is sitting here fighting. You know, my savage beast of a chimp needs fed. So when I go out and I do something that's a hobby that makes me happy, I go out and I see nature, I swim in a waterfall, you know, I canyoneer through a canyon, that's like releasing that inner chimp. And by doing that every couple of weeks, it gives me strength and energy to kind of continue on. So, you know, I got to say, guys, I'm not going to just keep rambling on. I'm going to ramble because this whole thing, this is amazing. You got to get this book, The Chimp Paradox. You got to read it. You got to read it now. And like I said, the most important thing is understanding, you know, who's doing the talking for you. So if I'm living through a period of my life where I'm upset, I'm disappointed in my personal performances, I feel like I'm a failure as an individual, I'm letting people down, I'm not making the kind of money, I maybe, you know, feel like I'm not fulfilled in life, then I need to look at that, understand this is coming from my chimp. You know, I need to have that balance. I need to start thinking logically about the things that are happening. You know, when like it's just simple, basic stuff like when you feel like you're down, you feel like you're a loser, you feel like you got nowhere to go, you feel like you're a nobody, and you've just let everyone down. You know, logically, you first start out with, look, well, you know, I got shelter, I got food, I got water. I mean, everything else is gravy after that. And then you just feed the chimp every so often. Keep an old chimp down there. You don't even have to call it chimp. Give it a name. I don't care. But you got to feed that chimp. So I hope I kind of made sense with this whole happy hour. I was bouncing around. I'm just super excited about this book. I can't wait to read the rest of it. I'll probably do a part 2 of it. But try it. If you don't read the book, I want you to try to think about just thinking logically in every scenario versus, or am I thinking unlogically? So when a bad behavior comes out, if you don't read the book, you don't want to get into that stuff. If a bad behavior comes up, give it a name. Give it an alter ego. Call it Joe, John, whatever, my alter ego, Doug Digley, whatever. And that's that person's talking. That's the negative person. That's the bad part. That's the demon within inside me, and I have to control it. Probably never get rid of it, but I need to live with it. So in order for me to live with it, I have to have more logic. I need to start thinking logic. I need to find things immediately within my brain. What's logical? What's the logical solution? And then go with that. So anyway, guys, I hope I made sense. I'm a winded happy hour. I got a little perspiration on here. I think my chimp is sweating right now. Woo, it's a hot one. But I hope you enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to build on this later on when I get some more knowledge. But anyway, as always, I want to thank you for watching this happy hour. Until the next one, take care and cheers.